Hello, everyone. I think we're live. Um, Great to be here virtually, and thank you for joining the talk or watching later. Excited to be with you today. Thanks, Andrew Copland, for inviting me to do so. It's been really fantastic being part of CBP so far. As you may have guessed, I'm coming to you from England. We're based in our office in Southampton, near London. And before I get started on talking a bit about self-distribution, I will introduce myself a little bit. So my name's Sam Williams. I'm the commercial director at BrewMan. We are a brewery management software, and we help brewers for the last 20 or years manage inventory, production, lot traceability, CRM, excise tax, and as we're going to talk about today, distribution management. We currently work with around 300 breweries in 10 countries or so. If you haven't heard of us, we're relatively new to the US. We only started doing American breweries last year, involving adding to our system TTB and all the fun US units of measure that we don't use in the UK. But as we've gotten involved with more US breweries, we want to get more involved with the community. So it's really great to be here and speak to you all today. So just popping a little agenda up there. Why are we talking about distribution today? Something that we found pretty early on from speaking to our US brewery users is self-distribution comes up a lot as a topic. In the UK and many other countries, we don't have any semblance of a three-tier system. So it's kind of the really standard practice for all of our brewery users to self-distribute their beer to their local area. And that's kind of the normal route to market that we have over here. So it's really interesting talking to different breweries in different states about what they do and what they're allowed to do. But we just thought it would be a good topic for a talk to share some of the best practice we see from other companies that do it all the time. Maybe if you're thinking about self-distributing or you do it all the time and just want to see how other people might do it, we thought it'd be interesting to talk about today. So we're going to talk a bit about collecting customer data, what it might be important for you to gather before you start delivering, how you can optimize your routes and then load your vehicles accordingly to try and make things as efficient as you can, reminding your customers to make sure they know you're coming, make sure you're not going multiple times to the same place, obtaining proof of delivery, how to track your kegs and lots, and if you want to, how to go paperless as well. So that's roughly what we're going to cover. If you have any questions, just drop them in the chat. I'll try and answer them when I see them, but otherwise feel free to drop me a line afterwards if you want to ask me some questions as well. Cool. So before we get stuck in, I thought it'd just be worth saying, why are we worried about optimizing our distribution? And I don't want to spend loads of time on this because it's not completely unobvious, but if we're trying to save ourselves some time and money, that's kind of the goal here. So if we can save time out on the road for our employees or ourselves, that could be time we could be brewing or selling, growing our business, not messing around with going to the right address. The more deliveries we can do in a day, the fewer days we have to go out, the fewer vehicles we have to have running. All of those things are going to save us time and money in gas, wages, vehicles, printing off paperwork, lots of reasons to want to optimize general processes in your business so that you can focus on the stuff that you actually like doing, like brewing the beer, rather than spending time out on the road delivering. Cool. So first thing we'll talk about is collecting customer data. It's one of those classic things that the more you do up front, the more time it will save you later. Really, in a classic small brewery scenario, you make a sale, it's really exciting, you're growing a business, you're bringing in money, you've got an order, you're excited. When you take that order, I'm sure we're going to take, when are we going to deliver it, at what time, to what place? But are we also saying, what's the delivery contact if we need to ring up and because we're lost? What's the best time to actually deliver this order because you're only open for deliveries between 10 and 2 and we need to factor that into our routes? Is it a massive seller that needs 2 people to come and drop? Whatever it is, we need to know this information and it will save us an enormous amount of time later if we just get a few simple questions up front. This doesn't need to be done through a system. This can be done on a Google form, Google Sheets, spreadsheets, can even write it down, but it's really important to get that information up front to make this efficient as possible later. And yeah, good data in is just much more valuable and it's going to be much more impactful later on. Obviously, If we're talking about a single delivery, it's not going to save you that much time. But if we're talking about we need to go on a drop of 10 deliveries today and we're going out 3 times a week, the amount that this can stack up can make a real big difference. If you turn up and they're not open and you have to go back there twice, that's an enormous waste of your time. So just ask the question up front, and they're going to be happy to give you the information because they want their beer on time as well. So it just makes sense for everyone involved. Cool. One of the biggest ways that you're going to save time and make your distribution more efficient is routing. There are systems that do this. We do this. There are lots of things out there that can help you optimize your distribution routes by putting in the addresses and saying, what's the quickest way of doing this? But even the really basic thing of putting them into Google Maps and dragging and dropping and seeing how much quicker it gets could save you a lot of time. A really, really basic example that thrown together here, saving half an hour on 10 stops. Really, really small things can make a big difference. And the less time you have vehicles out on the road, the better it is for your business. So it's a really easy thing to do. You don't need complex systems. Have a look at your routing the night before you're going to deliver. Also remember those delivery windows we just mentioned. If someone's only open between 10 and 2, that'd be a really good thing to go between those 2 times. Again, it's only worth delivering the beer if they're open, so make sure that's taken into account as well. If you have actually done a proper route and planned that ahead of time, load your vehicle accordingly. There's no point the driver arriving at the first drop and needing that incredibly heavy keg right at the back of the van and scrambling around to try and get that past the other 20 kegs. Once you've done a route, load the van from first thing on, last thing off, and it makes things more efficient. Your stops will be quicker and your driver won't hate you for loading it in the wrong order. So it's just all about saving time and making things a lot slicker and quicker. Reminders, really basic, but people forget. And one of the things that we always have to remember when we're very in our own world about our own businesses is that you're not the most important thing that that business is thinking about today. You're one of their deliveries. People forget, they go out, they're not in, they're not open. It's a really annoying thing to happen if you need to go twice. So the really basic thing that we can do is send them a reminder. Obviously, that can be quite time consuming if you're doing it one at a time. So download a list and do a mail merge or a BCC email, or send it through an SMS platform, whatever it is. Send out 10 reminders to the customers. We're going to deliver your beer today. Let us know if there are any issues. And if they tell you they can't take it today, it needs to be another day, that's great. We can rearrange it. It's better than we arrive there and we have to rearrange it and we've just wasted a load of time going there. So it's really helpful to remind people. They really, really do forget, and it can be really frustrating and can really slow you down. Proof of delivery, much less of an efficiency thing and more about kind of best practice. Most people don't think about it until the time they've sent an invoice and somebody says, what's this for? And you need to somehow dig out that you actually delivered this thing and you've got no proof that you did it. It's a really good idea to take signatures on delivery. And when we say signatures, we also mean a name, because some signatures are nonsense and no one knows whose they are. So always take a signature and name. Even if that's on a piece of paper, on an invoice or delivery note, it's a really good idea to do. It protects yourself for the one time that you actually do get challenged. There are systems that can help you with this. We do an app, though. You can take it in the app, but e-signatures, paper copies, whatever it is, take a proof of delivery. Also, upload images. If you're really, really worried or it's happened to you a few times, take a photo, especially if they're not in and you want to leave it around the back and you want to make sure they know that you've taken it and you've delivered it. Tracking kegs and lots. So this obviously depends entirely on your business. Do you have your own kegs? Are you distributing Kegstar instead, or something else where it's not your own assets? But if they are your own assets, you want to know where they are and how many of them you have out in circulation. They're expensive, and you don't want to be continuously replacing 10% of your keg fleet every few months. Some people find it can be quite time consuming to track this. If you just don't have systems, you're tracking on paper or spreadsheets or something like that. The very least you can do is just track the outstanding balance. So if you've delivered 6 and you've taken back 3, note it down, put it in a spreadsheet that you have 3 outstanding with that customer. You don't need to track individual keg numbers. You just want to know if we're missing some, where we should call and say, let's get some back. Or if you're going out there, the driver could know, oh, by the way, we've had six here for quite a while. Any of them empty that I can pick up. It is really about, it's less about saving you time. It's more about just saving you money. Kegs are expensive, as we all know. If you want to be really specific, or if you're going for health and safety accreditations or anything like that, where you want to prove lot tracking, that's a great idea to do as well on delivery. We delivered this batch to this customer, we physically handed it over, note it down on the invoice, put it on a spreadsheet, send it in an email, whatever it is, make sure that it's tracked. This is often not the front of people's concerns. It can be something that, oh, way down the road, we'll do that properly, but at the moment it doesn't really matter. The really one instance where this means a lot is in the kind of bad situation or scenario of a recall. So if you need to do a recall because you know there's a bad batch of beer, it happens. If you have to call up 20 customers and say, we delivered an IPA to you in this 3-month period, you need to send that all back because we think there's a spoiled batch, that can be really damaging, both because you need to give them a load of refunds, but also for your reputation. Like, we don't even know what beer we've messed up. If you can do a really clinical recall to say, we sold these 3 batches in these kegs to these customers on these dates, and email them individually and say, this keg that we sent you is a problem, we need it back. It can enhance your reputation that they know that you'll do this properly when there is actually a problem. So if you do want to kind of spend a little bit of time up front with the admin side to make sure that that can happen, in the scenario of a recall, you have the ability to get that back. And kind of doing that as part of your distribution can be really kind of valuable part of your process to make sure that, in that eventuality, you've got that covered. Going paperless. Delivery can spew an enormous amount of paper. If you're doing signed delivery notes, invoices, going out to 10 stops in a day, that amount of paper really, really stacks up. As a society, as business owners, a lot of focus is on, how can we reduce our environmental impact? Not bringing out 20 pieces of paper every time we go out for delivery is kind of step one. Also, even if it wasn't for the environmental impact, literally coming back with a massive stack of paperwork for someone to deal with is just how no one wants to be involved with a brewery. We want to brew beer, not sift through 20 pieces of paper. So if you can collect customer data on Google Forms, track things through spreadsheets, get systems in place, lots of systems out there, remove the paperwork as best you can. It's a really good way of doing your distribution. A lot of this is based on that initial effort. So getting a little bit more customer data to begin with prevents, having to do journeys multiple times, helps prevent journeys taking much longer than they should. The more that you can do that, the more deliveries you can do per day, the less you have to go out, the less salaries involved in distribution, the less mileage, the less gas. All of these things can be solved or reduced by a little bit of extra upfront data entry. It's all about making it as kind of slick and quick as possible so that it's just something that is done every day in a really quick and easy process that everyone, all of these problems surfacing the moment we try and deliver our beer. So even though some of these things might be a little bit more complicated or a little bit more out there, it really helps to make sure that distribution process is as efficient as it can be. In the long run, I mean, if we're talking about a single day's routing saving you half an hour, if you're going out a few times a week or a few times a month, in the long run, that's going to stack up so quickly that it will save you an enormous amount of time and money, and make self-distribution a genuinely attractive thing for your business to do, rather than paying cuts to other distributors. If you have the option, obviously, per state in doing it yourself, there's lots of ways of making this a really efficient process and selling to your local area efficiently as well. If anyone has any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or follow up with me afterwards. If you want to drop me a line, my email is sam@premissystems.com. I'm on LinkedIn as well. I'm in the Facebook group. Really happy to talk to anyone that wants to talk about this a bit more. If you want to find out a little bit more about BrewMan, you can create a trial as well. I'm more than happy to take you through it. We can talk about, obviously, we're talking about distribution today, but we cover loads and loads of areas of your business. You can sign up to a trial. It's a 30-day special free trial for CBP members to give you the most option to play with it yourself and have a go. But yeah, we'd be more than happy to talk to you, and please feel free to drop me a line after this as well. Cheers, everyone. Really great to be involved. And yeah, thank you for having me today, Andrew and everyone else.